Buying a home can be one of the worst investments ever. And I say that because with investments, like you're just using logic and numbers. But when it comes to our homes, our houses, the places we're gonna live, we use our hearts, we use emotions, and so we make decisions based off of that rather than just the facts. And I recently had a couple do this, and we found a home. They absolutely loved it. It was time for us to go and put in an offer. I did a little bit of extra due diligence, and I found a major red flag on this home, and I had to tell them, hey, you guys need to walk away. They didn't listen, so you're gonna listen. Today in this video, we're gonna talk about the types of homes that I want you to avoid and run away from if you ever run across them. I try not to inject my opinion on my clients too much unless I just think that we're making a horrible decision. And I hate to tell people like, don't buy this house. Absolutely not. There's situations for everything, but these are the types of houses that I won't co-sign under any circumstances. I just won't. I got a couple bonuses in there, and if you stick around, I got some free stuff in the description for you to check out, all right? Also, if you were in my shoes, which houses would you tell people to avoid? Please blow up the comments. I wanna know and I wanna hear stories. The first type of house is the type of house that we ran into while we were out looking. They loved it. We went back in, did our due diligence, just to come to find out that it is in a flood zone. Caveat here, if you are in a beach town, near a beach, somewhere coastal, flood zone is like, it's a thing. But if you are in a landlocked town like us, and all we've got is some rivers, some creeks, couple lakes, and this house isn't on the lake, but it's in a flood zone, then I would say just let that house go. In my opinion, if it's in like one of those 100-year flood zones, 50-year flood zones, it's just an extra expense that I wouldn't want my clients to pay unless absolutely necessary. And of course, like we want the insurance, we want to be protected, but you don't want to get this house that's in a flood zone. You never expect it to flood. You pay the extra money for the insurance. More than likely, you get the bare minimum, and then it actually floods. And you're totally not actually really prepared for that flood. So I would say, unless you know exactly what you're getting into, you love this house, and you can afford that extra payment, I would absolutely avoid flood zone homes. So I haven't seen anybody talk about this one, and we've run into this on more than one occasion. My client loves the house. We did this with a new construction not too long ago. Absolutely loved it. Price was great. Like this house was priced $20,000 cheaper than the same house that was right around the corner on a corner lot. This particular house was sitting right across from a stop sign. Look, it's really hard to avoid in some cases. I think I'm okay if the backyard is facing the stop sign or even the side yard, but the front of your house, if it's right across the street from a stop sign or a stop light, do not mess with it. It's probably on sale because somebody got their house run into by a car and now they're trying to get rid of it. There's one particular house here in the Killeen market that has been on and off the market so many times during the tenure of my career. And I swear, every 2 years, you pass by that street, you pass by that house, and you see that another car has run smack dab into the front of that house. Man, it's just such a danger and such a hazard. And for my client with the new construction, she went elsewhere and did the other house that was $20,000 more expensive on the corner lot because she just could not be in front of that stop sign. I recommended that she doesn't do it in front of the stop sign. It's just one of those things, like there's no dollar amount that you can really put on peace of mind. So if you've got to pay extra for the same house in a different location, as long as it's not in front of that stop sign and you don't have to worry about your house getting smacked by either a bad driver, a young driver, or a drunk driver, when you're asleep in the middle of the night, like to me, that's worth any amount of money, straight up. All right, so this one's gonna hurt a little bit because my house actually falls into this category. But if you can, avoid houses built between the year 2021 and 2022, because that's when all the madness was happening, the labor shortages, supply chain shortages. And so these houses were just getting thrown up super fast and the quality of the materials was poor. And so how I learned about this was the grout in my shower kept getting holes in it. And I called a contractor to look at it, and he told me that he's run into this exact same problem with a whole bunch of houses built in the same year as mine. And it's because the quality of the materials at that time was so crappy. So I went a little deeper and I saw a bunch of people complain about their HVAC, their plumbing, foundation, just all kinds of issues. The good thing is they've been on the ground long enough to where your inspection should turn up any issues that are there. But yeah, those houses built in those years just are not up to the standard of quality that I would like for my clients and for myself. So if I could do it all over again, I might have waited a little bit later or got something that was built a little bit earlier. So I'm actually waiting for some clients to pull up to this house, right? But it falls in the category of houses that I would never buy because like we live in these master planned communities, everything's so pretty and nice, there's green spaces, but this thing is located right next to a community park. And in my opinion, like it's nice to be walking distant to the splash pad. Like this is a splash pad, but I wouldn't touch that. Why? Because you're just asking for random people to be in your yard, cars to be parked right outside of your house, kids to be coming by and tearing up stuff, teenagers breaking in your cars, pets pooping in your yard. To me, it's just too much easy access for the rest of the neighborhood to my house that I just wouldn't buy a house that's located right next to a community park, a community playground, a community pool, or like dog park, splash pad, none of that. Get me away from all of that. So another big no-no for me are homes with solar panels for a number of reasons. And I had to learn this one the hard way through some very disappointed clients. But one thing is those solar panel companies like open and close, go bankrupt so fast. Maintenance on those solar panels can be crazy. It's actually hard to get like an inspector that knows solar panels and can let you know if they're even working. I had a family purchase a property with solar panels. Come to find out they weren't even working and producing power. And my heart broke for them. And so ever since that situation, I will never recommend any of my clients buy a house that has solar panels. If you're gonna put your own solar panels on it, that's one thing. But I'm not taking over anybody's solar panels. Like, just can't do it. Too much potential money, it damages the roof. The warranties can be a little bit unreliable. The technology can become outdated very, very quickly. And sometimes they don't even cover like the actual power bill. And then the other thing about those solar panels is like, what if they're not paid off? So just because you decided to put solar panels on your house doesn't mean that I should have to pay for them. And they can actually knock you out of qualifying for the house because now I have to qualify for an extra $20,000, $30,000 for these solar panels. So for those reasons, I'm out. Okay, for this next one, I might get a little bit of hate for. And I'm not gonna lie, I am not an expert in this type of home. But for a couple reasons, I would tell my people to stay away. And this type of home is a modular home or manufactured home, right? Now there's different categories, different levels. There's just homes that have been assembled somewhere else and put onto the land. And then there's those like traditional double wide or single wide trailer homes. Those are more of what I'm talking about here. And it's not because of the materials. It's not because they're like built in one day super fast. Like actually some of those homes can be great and they can last a long time. There's a couple things that make me tell my people to stay away. One is that the value increase over time is historically lower on those type of homes. What helps you with those type of homes is if you have that type of home on some acreage, right? And then all of a sudden everybody wants to buy homes with acreage and yours just so happens to be a more affordable option is usually what happens. But because these type of homes are typically seen as a more affordable option, they actually appreciate a little bit slower. And then there's a second reason. So there's a second reason, and this may be a little bit more unique to where I am. So in one of the cities near me, Harker Heights, Texas, they have a lot of these kind of trailer modular homes, and they actually changed the zoning. So if that modular home burns down or tears up and it's got no more useful life, you cannot build another one there, or you cannot cannot put another one there. You have to build a house. So I would say because of future zoning restrictions or zoning changes, it may not be the best idea to get one of those unless it's out in the country. Then you're safe. But if you are a little bit closer to city life, a little bit closer to civilizations and suburbs, all that stuff, then you might find yourself in a situation where you cannot replace your modular home on that land. Also, don't buy a modular home if you don't own the land that it's sitting on. You're just asking for headaches. You're just asking for trouble there. Okay, a little bonus house here, because in Texas, we have lots of foundation issues. And I'm not gonna tell you to buy a house that has had foundation issues or is getting the foundation issues fixed, but I will say do not buy a house that actively has foundation issues that you have to fix. Why? Because there is a lot more that can go wrong. So whenever they come in and they fix this slab foundation, and I'm talking particularly slab foundations, not those pier and beams, but when they come in and they fix the foundation, they jack the house up, then they have to dig under the ground. There are cracks that form in the wall. Those cracks are probably already there, and that's how you know that there's foundation. But those cracks are a pain in the butt to get rid of after you've actually done the fix. And then there's the potential that during the time that they were leveling the foundation, that they tore up the plumbing. So you have to do what's called a hydrostatic test. And that's where they get down in there and they make sure that there are no leaks or cracks in the plumbing after those repairs are made. And that plumbing fix can add an extra $5,000 to $10,000 to an already $10,000 to $20,000 bill for fixing a foundation. And most times insurance is not gonna cover it, or it's gonna cost a ton to get insurance to cover it. So bonus house, don't buy homes that actively have bad foundations. If that foundation gets fixed, you have the warranty and you know the plumbing is good and you can deal with kind of the cosmetic stuff, then proceed. Never buy an A-framed house because they're just ugly. Like, who wants that? If you have one, leave me a picture in the comments, because the resale has got to be horrible on that. Like, you really need a particular type of buyer for that house. Okay, no more A-framed rant. So this next one might be a little controversial too, because I'm just gonna get into it. Don't buy very lived in homes. And what I mean by very lived in is when you come in, there is tons of furniture and stuff on the walls, and this house is just packed to the brim. You can barely see the carpet. You can barely see the walls. You can barely get to the outlets during the inspection. So there's too much stuff in this home. It's very lived in. And if they didn't take the time and the care to prepare this home for sale, then 9 times out of 10, they didn't care for this home overall anyway, right? So once you actually move that furniture and you move that stuff out of the way, you don't know what the heck you're gonna find. And odds are, what you do find, you're not gonna like. So avoid very lived-in homes if you can help it. I had a client purchase a home that was not staged, it was not decluttered, but they liked the area. It was right in their price range, and it was during the time when you just had to bid on whatever house you wanted, right? So we actually get to 3 days from closing, go back in to do our walkthrough. The couch is now moved off of the wall, and we see a crack spanning the length of the wall in the living room. Turns out there's $15,000 worth of foundation work that needs to be done on this house. We had to delay closing, get all that taken care of and fixed. It messed them up because they had to find temporary lodging, had to find somewhere to stay. And we know, like, temporary short-term rentals are ridiculously expensive, but it would have been more expensive if they would have bought that house as is. You can buy any house. You can buy any house that they have for sale, no matter where, no matter what's going on with it, as long as you're super informed about the house and you're prepared for whatever the financial contingencies or burdens that may arise from it. And that's just my 2 cents. All right, next up, my investor people, you're gonna be a little mad at me for this one, but I've just had too many clients end up in bad situations buying LLC flips. So somebody came in, bought it for cheap, threw some paint on it, swapped out the appliances, and sold it at the top of market value because it's pretty. man, you just end up finding yourself in a position where you have to fix way more stuff. And then when it's inspection time, oh my God, those inspections come back with so many issues, so many leaks. And of course, it's not every flipper, it's not every LLC, but you know, if you get in there and it looks like it's got cheap work done to it, cheap, only cosmetic work. They just put lipstick on the pig, as people say, like that's the saying. If they put the lipstick on the pig and you can tell, just run away, okay? Run away, because there's probably so much more crap going on in that house that they did know about, but didn't take care of. Why? Because it's expensive. And they're gonna end up charging you for that. They're gonna charge you full market value because it's pretty, and then you gotta pay to actually fix the real deficiencies in a house. And I've seen a few videos that kind of say the same thing, but yeah, if you can avoid it, stay away from the LLC flips. I had a client buy one of these during the rush, and he was so unhappy after his first few months because so much other stuff ended up tearing up and being wrong, like things that the inspector just didn't catch or couldn't catch, electrical issues, like things that were a little bit beyond the scope of a regular home inspector. So stay away from those LLC flips if at all possible. I know they're pretty, I know, but just go somewhere else. Get a new build. Like, I would rather you buy a DR Horton new build than to get an LLC flip, you know? Also, I dropped a free home shoppers checklist in the description. So if you're out looking at homes, you can take this checklist with you. That way you make sure that you look in all of the important places in the house, just in case you don't have a realtor that's as great as me and you want to go and look at these things yourself. It's got a checklist of all the places, all the nooks, all the crannies in the house that you're gonna want to look at before you put it under contract, before you get an inspector, before you put in an offer, any of that. Things that you can see. And then you kind of go through this checklist methodically with every single house. That way you don't have any major surprises and you don't waste any money. So I hope it helps. I really hesitated to make this video because I don't want to be telling you don't buy this house, right? Because there's a situation for everybody. There's a house for everybody. The perfect buyer for every home pretty much exists. But if you're my client and we're going out to see houses, I'm always going to keep it real with you. I'm always going to keep it raw with you. And so to me, those are the top 5 houses that I would say avoid if you can. If you can't, then just make sure you understand everything that comes with it. Home ownership is a huge task, but pride in ownership is important. Equity building is important. Wealth building over time is important. All right. So I got a couple more videos on the channel about the type of things that you might want to avoid out there in these streets. So check that out. I appreciate you watching this one, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace.